Super relaxing day out. This is really nice. Haven't found anything to paint yet. I'm going to continue paddling and enjoy the morning sunshine. I think we're supposed to be getting some weather here in Maine, so I want to take advantage of my day off. And I think around the corner here I'm going to see about painting this island that I've paddled by many times. So I'll catch up to you. I'm headed over to that island straight in front of us, because all along the shore there's broken up tree limbs, fallen timber in the water, and I think it might be cool to anchor there and paint something, so we'll go check it out. Okay, here's what I'm going to attempt to paint in the kayak here, and right now I'm just up against a log. Okay, I'm going to be using raw umber, titanium white, cobalt blue, cad yellow pale, cad red light, and I'm using Galkid, which I've never used before, for a medium. And that's my view out there working on, I think this is a 6x12. So we'll check that out and see how it goes. Just going to block in here. Low horizon. You just have to accept when you're doing this sort of thing that you may have issues with exactness, and that's going to happen. I mean, you're painting from a kayak, you know, but to be outdoors like this, getting kind of both interests that I have with the kayaking and painting, can't go wrong. I'm going to shift around a bit here. There's a nice little trees over here that are and you know, a lot of people start with the sky, with the land. It's kind of a toss-up. I don't really have one way of working. I try different things depending on how I'm going to cut in, but I kind of tackled what is happening more for the subject, which is the trees and shore and all that. So that's why I am tackling this first in this case. Just trying to get some tonal relationships there. Just working on the sky here. Go back and forth, start with a little more white, add blue to it as I apply it. Trying to get that milkiness that I see to the sky. Again, I'm not going to be able to probably get a lot of super control. Just have to accept that and go more for the color effects that I want. Right now I'm just trying to get some coverage. I'm applying the paint somewhat thick, but not terribly excessive, because I want some ability to alter if needed without a lot of paint in the way. Just trying to get some color. I'm going for about a 80% accuracy in the sky, to give me some room to adjust here and there, temperature, dark light, that sort of thing. So let me get back to when I'm done with the sky. Okay, here's how the sky's progressing. Liking it quite a bit, and just trying to achieve some tones that I see in the sky. It's a hazy, milky sky, but there's some pretty highlights that I'm trying to achieve. Not trying to beat down the paint, mix it in too much, because it'll intermix a little bit, almost a very impressionistic. Still using this flat size 6 Princeton brush. See how much I can get away with here. I'm going to get some water tones in there to start establishing that. Mixing a little of the Cad Red Light, Cobalt. I usually use ultramarine blue, but just trying a different palette. That's what we should be doing. Getting some of the green from the trees and strike a horizon line. I'm going to lighten it up a bit. Don't worry about, I'd rather have it a little dark than too light, because it would be harder to adjust that. Just getting the panel a little wet to facilitate the flow of paint. Wet with terps. Now I'm going to pull out different tones. Trying to create the water like a impressionist painting. Just basically getting coverage, and then I can come back with more detail brushes. But if I don't have the overall tonal color aspect I want, no amount of finesse, detail is going to help it out. Detail, if I get it right, detail is just going to enhance the final product. Just right on that. I'm not trying to go crazy. Switching over to my Robert Simmons brushes, the Sapphire series. I'm going to finesse the distant tree line a little more, especially way back here. Get a little white, lighten it up. It's darker than the sky, but just want to try to create that feeling of distance as I come into closer shapes. Now get some shadows with that purple mixed in there. Especially where I see, set off this highlight I'm going to be doing. This kayak is awesome for this. This is, I mean, I can stretch a little bit and everything. Creating some stronger lights and darks, starting to define what's going on. Trying to get a little bit of characteristic of the tree in there. Again, it's not going to be perfect. I don't have a super pointy brush, but if we get some flow, trying to get a little color in there so it's not just flat, darkish shape. Working on some shadows over here, especially to set off some trees there. And sometimes you want to keep trying to make it darker, and I'll have to adjust what's around it to make it appear darker, because you don't want to kill the, want to try to get some luminous sunlight in the morning kind of effect. Better to get a feel of a place than have excessive detail that looks great but has, you know, technically it's sound but there's no feeling in it. So I'm just trying to get some essence of the place, as all the other artists say, but it's true. Effects can be difficult on the kayak for detail, but if you get it suggested, then when you get home, immediately you can spend another 20 minutes touching up edges and working on contrast, that sort of thing. Suggestion of trees. Okay, now that I've applied the paint with pellet knife, I'm just kind of touching into it to vary the size of the strokes a bit, work down some edges. Then I can steal, when I steal some of the thicker paint from one area, I can apply it to another. Trick is not to ruin everything you did with the palette knife, but to complement it. Especially you got to be careful to have something too textured in one area and too smooth in another. So that's something to be aware of too. There, I like that water. There's some sky stuff that I need to work on now with getting some work around the trees. And want to be sure to try to integrate, because you're having a different size stroke than your size 6 flat that you use, so try to be decisive about it. Dance some of those strokes around. That'll help tie it in if you feel you're going to have some trouble. I think I'm just going to put in some boats and all that kind of summer goods and call it done. Now we do the icing on the cake, and I'm dipping into my Galkid. Want just enough that Galkid, too much, and we don't want it runny. And I'm going to have to try to steady my hand a bit. There's some distant boats, but I'm going to wait for the paint to get a little dirty before I put it in the distance, because it won't be the same intensity. And even though there's not like colorful things, like multiple colored objects over there, I'm adding a few things for interest to suggest other elements, to have some distant flecks of things back there. I like that. I like it. And I'm going to try about scratching in some tree trunks for interest. Now I'm going back into my sky color to have a little more control with this smaller flat. Try to do some sky holes a little bit. Again, it's not going to be perfect, so don't beat yourself up. That's the way it is. Just trying to create some interest. Looks like it's clown over a little bit and stuff, but I think I'm going to call this. I'm liking, whoops, look at that. Look at that piece of stuff caught right on there. Let me get that out of there. Okay, it's clouding over pretty good here and stuff, so I think I'm going to pack up and head back to shore, but I think I got a pretty darn good start on this, and pace to really kind of try to nail your lights and darks early in case, like now, the weather's changed. But let me show you what I have. Here's what I got. Super awesome. Very happy with it. Okay, so I want to thank you for joining me for this adventure, and be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and you like what you see. Hit the notifications icon to be alerted as to new videos. And everyone I invite to follow on Facebook at my art page, Habowskistudio, and I'll talk to you later.